just going to go through and send some test messages, just explain the difference between those conversation providers and how you can use iMessage or a combination and a mix of SMS and iMessage through the platform. Okay, so we'll start very basically. Now, if I just move this out of the way here. Now, as we saw in the previous video, when I set this up, if I just go back to settings just to clarify this, in the phone numbers in here, when this loads, let's just get the conversation provider up. There we go. So in this account, I have set iMessage as the default. Okay, so I'm only using iMessage in this account. I'm not using a combination of SMS, and I'm not using WhatsApp or iMessage, though I could do. All right, so just iMessage only in this plan. Now, what that means is if I go to my contacts, and I'm just going to go to iPhone first of all, as an example. Because I've got iMessage as the default in here, if I'm sending a manual message, I can send using the default SMS conversation provider in HighLevel. So I can use this in here, and I can just say testing iMessage, and I will send that. I'll bring the phone up on the screen here so that we can see this. Just bring that down. Okay, so there we are. So testing iMessage, so we can see that has been sent out on the phone here as a blue text, all right? And that's using just the conversation provider there. Now, if I reply to that from, this is the other iPhone over here that went to, we'll just say received. Okay, so that's on the phone here. We'll see that come in a second. There we go. So that's come in here, and you'll also see all of that corresponds with the iMessage on the computer. So everything that we did earlier to link iMessage in the iPhone, everything is syncing through here. Okay, so that's iMessage and just standard basic iMessage to iMessage. All right. Now, next thing we'll just look at here is if we want to send to any device, okay, if we're sending to an Android, what do we do there? Because that's not an iMessage. So I'll just pop this out of the way for a second. And this number here, this is an Android phone. So if I go to this one, and I'm going to say test to Android phone. So we'll just send that one out. And I'll bring this over in 1 second. All right, so this is, there we go, into the Android phone. So that has sent out a green text to the Android phone. And the way that that works is you will see in your iMessage, we can see here it tried to send a blue bubble, but it can't do it, so it defaults and it goes back to SMS. So when it's doing this, it's actually sending from the iPhone, whereas all the iMessages just get sent through your Mac and through iMessage on the Mac. If it can't send an iMessage, that's when it will default to the phone. So the phone must be connected for SMS to work as a backup, okay? Otherwise, everything will just go through iMessage on the Mac. Now, if I reply to that, we'll see that one come in here, and we'll just say received. Oh, I've spelled that wrong, but that's okay. There we go. So that's come in on here. Oh, saw that pop straight in, and there we go. So synced everywhere through here. Now, that's basically everything in terms of sending, receiving, iMessage, SMS as a backup, the basics. Just to get a bit advanced from that, so if you wanted to combine those together, I'm just going to go back to the settings just to remind on this. If we go back to the settings and the phone numbers, HighLevel was just being a bit slow here. Go to the additional settings. Now, the The conversation provider we're using here is iMessage only, so everything is going through the standard SMS conversation provider. If I was going to mix it and use SMS, WhatsApp, and iMessage, that's where we've got separate conversation providers for both, and also custom actions as well to allow us to mix things up. So if I had a mix of SMS and iMessage in here, the way that that would work is if I was to go back to my contact, and if I was going to send to this phone, for example, if I wanted to send an iMessage, okay, I would have to use this conversation provider here and manually type it in. Okay, so just imagine if I've got an Android phone and an iMessage in here, any messages through iMessage will have to be manually typed in here. If you want it to go through the Android phone, then the Android phone will become the default conversation provider over here. All right, so that's when you're doing it manually. All right, hopefully that makes sense. And obviously, if you're sending using the iPhone, it doesn't matter. You can send through here, and it will still send with the SMS as a backup if you were sending from the iPhone, but you don't know the person's number on the other end, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, it will still do the SMS as a backup and everything there. The general use case for this, where people are using this, is they want to combine SMS and iMessage because they want to do database reactivations with higher volume, and then use the iMessage for the salesperson for the appointment booking afterwards to kind of carry it over. So you might have the Android phone doing the outreach and just saying, hey, we've got an offer, we'd like to book you in, whatever it might be. As soon as someone books in, then it transfers to the other agent and it will use the iMessage for that. So you just want to move them over to there. Okay. Now, in order to do that through automations as well, if we to go into an automation, and I'll just show you an example here. So if we just look at a workflow in here, and we'll just use it doesn't matter, we'll use this one. Now, with iMessage as the default, the SMS standard custom provider will work. So because I'm using iMessage only in this account, I can use the standard SMS action through HighLevel workflows, and that will all work. Now, if I have SMS that I'm using for my database reactivation and iMessage for my automations afterwards or for my follow-ups, my lower volume stuff, then the Android phone would be the default for the SMS action. And if you wanted to use automations to send iMessage, you would have to use our iMessage custom action. So I'm just going to show it on here. This obviously wouldn't be a flow that you would use, but just to show the difference, if you go into the actions and we scroll down to the bottom here, we can see our custom actions here. This is actually going to get changed. This should be gray labeled when you see this. It should say my SMS gateway app, but we will pick here and we'll send iMessage. Okay, so we'll send an iMessage to the phone number, and this will be iMessage send. Okay, so we'll save that action there. And this would now, through this workflow here, if we had two different phones attached, an Android phone, the Android phone will use this custom action, and the iMessage or the iPhone will use this custom action. So obviously you would do that in two different workflows generally, but just to show the point here of how you can still use automations. Now, these are custom automations, so there is that charge through HighLevel, either 1 cent per action, or you can buy 10,000 actions for $10, I think it is at the moment as I'm making this video. So they're very cheap if you pay for that 10,000 for $10, and I think it's 0.001 cent or 0.01 cent, whatever it might be, but very cheap. So that's how you can mix and match using iMessage and SMS in two plans, or sorry, in the same sub account, and also making sure that you can do SMS as a backup with iMessage from the same number.